I don't really know how to open this video, so here's footage of the enemy Edelgard AI getting melted down by unnamed NPCs in my maddening run of 3 houses. Normally around this time, I'd be making a reaction video, but although I did fully record my reaction to Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer, my reaction wasn't up to the standard I wanted it to be. It wouldn't be a very entertaining video, especially not a very entertaining reaction video, if my reaction is just me staring dead at the camera for 20 minutes. And that's basically what my reaction to Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer was. I was bored and I was bored 90% of the time and confused the other 10%, and it just wasn't a good reaction video. I feel like the reason my Guts versus Dimitri reaction video was so successful, at least by my standards, is because I had genuine passion for the episode, the characters, and the matchup. I was extremely excited for it. And I kind of want that quality for all of my videos. I don't want a reaction video to feel, I don't want it to be something that's required. I don't want it to become, I don't want my reaction videos to just roll off a conveyor belt. If it's not, if I don't have a good reaction, I don't think I should post the video. I don't think anyone would want to watch that. I don't think anyone should watch it, for that matter. My plan at first was going to be to cut out the boring parts of my reaction, but here's some behind the scenes context. Whenever I post a reaction video, first I record myself reacting to it. Then I go back and record the death battle itself so that I can put that footage in the corner of the reaction video. And the thought of going back and having to rewatch this full episode to get the second layer of footage let me know immediately that I was not going to make a reaction video for it. It'd just be too boring as an editor and for the viewer. So I'm putting my thoughts into a review instead, and hopefully can get 100 views or something. That's the goal. So for starters, it had a One Piece sponsor, 0 out of 10 episode, goodbye, that's all. Okay, but for real, with John's analysis, I thought the editing was really neat, like, especially in the beginning when it had a bunch of the important panels layered on top of each other. I thought that was cool. I like it. Watching on 2x speed also makes these panels really pop more than they would have otherwise. I also liked learning about the origin of John's human name. I always thought he went for the most inconspicuous name possible. Like, he knows a lot of people are named John, so he picked out John so he wouldn't stand out in the crowd. I didn't know he stole that name from somebody, so it was nice learning that. Boomstick's off-screen jokes were also pretty funny. The clever DC writers and Martian God Hunter genuinely made me laugh. Unfortunately, that's the extent I can praise this analysis. While his off-screen jokes were funny, his cutaway gag was not. Now, I don't want to seem overly sensitive, but I don't think a self-harm joke with burning is appropriate. Like, I wouldn't want to see Boomstick shoot himself in the head with his shotgun or hang himself with the lasso of truth, because that's all, like, real? It's not the same as him putting on the Omnitrix and it malfunctioning or something, or Wiz giving him some superpower that makes him run to Jupiter, or just, I don't know. Either way, even if it's a totally appropriate joke that doesn't push anybody's buttons, it still wasn't funny. I don't think Boomstick as a character is so dumb as to try to burn himself because Wiz said that Martian Manhunter's weakness to fire was all in his head. The pacing for this analysis was also all over the place. It started with how he got to Earth, his powers, his stats, then went into his tragic backstory. That seems way out of order. Yeah, I think that the backstory would come first, then how he gets to Earth, followed by how his interactions with the Justice League helped him overcome his survivor's guilt, and through his adventures with them, you learn his stats. Speaking of stats, they were vague and inconsistent throughout the whole episode. First, they scaled him to infinite speed through Superman, which I hope doesn't become a trend for future Marvel vs. DC fights. And then they later brought up a massively faster than light plus speed feat. But that doesn't matter. It's infinitely slower than what you already gave him. They also scaled him to multiversal through Perpetua. And I hope that also doesn't become a trend for Marvel vs. DC fights. Like, I'm sure they can all scale to around the same multiversal stuff since they're always together. But, like in Aquaman vs. Namor, it's more interesting to learn feats that the characters themselves perform. That makes the Marvel and DC fights unique and stand out from each other. So while they could all scale to the same stuff, a better analysis would simply not do that.
Formed a literal spiritual connection with those lost souls. A telepathic connection so strong, it kept them from finding peace in an afterlife. Let me say that again. His grief and telepathy were so strong, he prevented an entire race of people from moving on to the afterlife.
It doesn't matter how much Wiz wants to emphasize it, this is only vaguely relevant. Okay, his telepathy is strong enough to stop a bunch of souls. What does that mean? Where does it scale to? What impact could it have? It just means he has strong telepathy, which has already been established. And despite establishing it so thoroughly, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself by bringing up the post-analysis, but they say Silver Surfer can resist Martian Manhunter's mind hacks anyway. Silver Surfer's analysis is a lot of the same. Again, I like the editing. I like Boomstick's jokes when he's not on screen. And learning about where the term Marvel Herald came from was my favorite part of the episode. It also had better pacing than John's analysis. Most of his abilities and stats were explained after his tragedy with Galactus. Even so, Boomstick's cutaway gags were still painfully unfunny, and there's no reason to bring up nanosecond feats after you've brought up incalculable speed feats. It's nowhere near as extreme, but Smash Bracket, one of Death Battle's competitors, had an episode for Sonic vs. Fox, and they brought up millions of speed feats for both characters, and it got confusing trying to figure out which speed feat they were using for the battle, and like which counted as combat speed, which was just travel speed, which is just straight up slower than what's already been mentioned before, because they switch between thousands of Mach speeds and percentage of light speed. Sonic vs. Fox still manages to be a better episode, so I still recommend checking it out, but I was just bringing up the damage it can have when the analysis is filled with so many stats the viewer can't keep up, or you're just boring the user, which is even worse. Not the user, the viewer. You're just boring the viewer because you're bringing up stats that they know won't matter. For AP, most of Silver Surfer's feats in the analysis were performed himself, and they were like generally around star level, but they did have one or two lines that could scale him to multiversal slog. Cough, power creep, cough. But I'd much rather it be structured like that, how it's mostly direct feeds, with some scaling stuff sprinkled in there, rather than they give a whole spiel about Martian Manhunter scaling to this multiversal lady, and putting all their focus on that. By the end of both analyses, this is all they explained, and none of it is particularly interesting except for Martian Manhunter's mind hacks, who, like I said before, they'll have Silver Surfer resist that anyway. It's just a battle with nothing interesting. When the fight starts, Martian Manhunter says that Silver Surfer has summoned him, and Silver Surfer then runs away immediately, which doesn't make sense if he's the one who summoned Martian Manhunter. If the implication is that Death Battle summoned both of them, then it would have made more sense if Silver Surfer was like, aren't you the one who summoned me? And they had a conversation about why they're both there, rather than Silver Surfer immediately running away. When Martian Manhunter chases after him, he tries to probe Silver Surfer's mind for the answer, and Silver Surfer blocks out the mind reading, but why do that if you have nothing to hide? And apparently he doesn't, he either summoned Martian Manhunter and he can say, I summoned you here to fight, or he didn't summon Martian Manhunter, so he has nothing to hide. So why is he running away, and why is he blocking the mind reading? Nothing happens for the next 25 to 30 seconds, and I do mean nothing. They just fly around with the occasional key blast that never lands. Martian Manhunter then clones himself. Silver Surfer senses the real one. Martian Manhunter breaks Silver Surfer's board. Then we get to the best part of the fight by far. This dragon shot is stellar. It looks genuinely amazing, and my jaw dropped when I saw it. It's like all the budget for the entire episode went into these few seconds, and it came out great. They even utilized Silver Surfer's ability to make a new board out of nothing. When the pair end up in a star, they spend the rest of the fight in there talking. Silver Surfer tells Martian Manhunter to feel the pain. That felt kind of out of character, even for the characterization Death Battle was trying to set up. Why is he trying to torture John with the heat from a star? He can win the battle without making it painful. In fact, he'd probably want to make it painless, since they know they're fighting for nothing. But after hearing that, Martian Manhunter gives up and they go back to talking. He tells Silver Surfer that he hopes he can live knowing that he won a death battle, but not why he had to win a death battle. It was pretty meta. And it's not a bad ending. It's the second best part of the fight behind the dragon. But look at what this fight consisted of. They spent more time talking than they did fighting, and a large chunk of the animation was still them just flying around doing nothing. I don't dislike story-driven death battles that have a lot of talking, like Homelander versus Omni-Man. But those have much better setups so that the viewer can be invested in what's going on. Homelander killed Debbie, and Omni-Man wanted revenge. There's a very clear story to tell there. With this, the setup was decently done. I liked the dialogue, but it wasn't clear enough to make this a good story-driven battle. Two people showing up somewhere confused, and one of them running away confused, is not a good story. All the emotional beats came in at the very end. It didn't start emotional and end emotional. The story didn't continue into the post-analysis like it probably should have. Boomstick made one comment about why are we making characters like this fight, and Wiz just ignores him to go talk about versus stuff. And the versus stuff was not convincing. It basically came down to the Silver Surfer can resist telepathy despite how much y'all hyped it up, so he wins. According to the scoreboard, Silver Surfer had better regeneration, but that's not what they said in the pre-analysis. Silver Surfer could also resist the mind manipulation, even though they super hyped it up in the pre-analysis. And they say the power cosmic offers many advantages. What advantages? Y'all just said they had a wide array of powers and could counter each other. Why is comparable in strength and speed a plus for Martian Manhunter? Shouldn't that be an equal on both of their pages? And again, according to the pre-analysis, he should be way more powerful than Silver Surfer, because they never directly scaled him to multiversal like they did for Martian Manhunter. They just assume you know how powerful Galactus level beings are, or that you know what the overspace is. They don't explain it in the post-analysis either. They just say he can destroy planets. If they were going to use direct feats for both, and use multiversal scaling in the background for both, that would make more sense, but it's not comparable. When you have one character have direct scaling to multiversal, and you just put that vaguely in the background for the other character, and just say he's planet level or star level, then have that character win. As a final score, I'm gonna give this episode boring and not rewatchable out of 10. When I was gathering footage for this review, I had to watch the episode on 2x speed as to not fall asleep. I'll give this episode a number score when I do the mid-season review for all 8 episodes of the season so far.